PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. And on this edition, we are going to be focusing on the Henderson Silver Knights, and we are going to be discussing the top 10 players that are in the AHL for your Vegas Golden Knights playing out there in Henderson. And we, have a really good list. We're going to be breaking down the roster. We saw what the roster is looking like out there in Henderson, and we are going to be doing this list, kind of doing some focus on the AHL. I know so many people want to talk about the NHL. So many people love to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights, and we're going to have plenty of that here on Vegas Hockey Hub. But just want to take a very quick second and show a video towards the AHL and shift our focus over to the minor leagues. So we're going to talk about the Henderson Silver Knights and the top 10 players on the roster, and we'll be doing that in just a quick second here on PRConnectionsRadio.com. Now, before we get into the list, I want to very quickly say go to our YouTube channel. We are on PR Connections Radio YouTube channel. We try to upload every single day onto the YouTube channel. And then we also have exclusive content on our YouTube channel. So it is at Vegas Hockey Hub, and we upload Vegas Hockey Hub recap and all this good content that we have on our YouTube channel at Vegas Hockey Hub, and then our daily episodes on PR Connections Radio YouTube channel as well. So just wanted to quickly give that plug and promote the network and the network that we are on right now. So getting into this list, there is two disclaimers that I'm going to put out here. Disclaimer number one, if there is a member of the Henderson Silver Knights that is going to be on the Vegas Golden Knights roster, they're not going to count. All right? If there is a two-way guy, like, for example, a Giannis Roundbeer, he's not going to be on here. If there was going to be a guy, like, for example, someone like Brendan Brisson or someone like Gregory Diancenko, if there are players that are projected to be two-way guys, they're going to play some games in the NHL, they're going to play some games in the AHL, they are not being included on this list. The reason why is because if I included them, this list would be filled with so many NHLers on this top 10. So, to make it fair and to make it even for this top 10, I decided to just go with guys who are signed to Henderson and signed to the AHL. So, I'm not including the guys who have a two-way deal where they can be in the AHL, but they could also be in the NHL. They're kind of in that middle ground there. So that's the first one. That is the first disclaimer. So you're not going to see players like, for example, Akira Schmid. You're not going to be seeing him on here. You're not going to see some players that are considered NHL-level guys that are going to be on this list. For example, Callahan Burke. You're not going to see him on here. So that's the first disclaimer. And then the second disclaimer that I'm going to put out here is that if there are players that are prospects that are projected to enter the Silver Knights organization on the back end of the AHL season, I am not putting them on here as well. So you're not going to see Trevor Connolly. You're not going to see Cameron Whitehead. You're not going to see some of these players that are in the OHL and the CHL playing overseas. You're not going to see really any of those guys be on this list. And it's just mostly due to the fact that this is going to be a list for players who are going to play a full season in the AHL. These are going to be guys that are projected to be an everyday starter in the AHL for the Henderson Silver Knights. So just wanted to put that out there. That's the disclaimer for this video. So for the top 10 players in the AHL for the Vegas Golden Knights, disclaimer 1, I'm not including guys that are going to be on the Vegas Golden Knights roster, guys who are going to be split two-way guys. And I'm also not including the top prospects that are projected to join the team late in the season and are going to be with them at a later date. No, just full-time members of the AHL based off of the roster that we have on here. So with the episode recording that we have as of today, I am looking at the roster that is on the Henderson Silver Knights website, and I am putting the people on the top 10 that are on the website and are projected to be everyday guys with the Silver Knights. Great, perfect. So that's the explanation. Let's get into the list, and we'll start with the number 10 here for the top AHL players for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now getting into it, defenseman Brandon Hickey. And this is a really good start for this list, and it being at number 10. So Vegas Golden Knights, they have had him on their AHL roster for the past couple of seasons, as it actually started in 2021, 2022, as he would play in about a dozen games in the AHL for the Henderson Silver Knights. This is actually after he split time with the Vancouver Canucks in their AHL team in Abbotsford during that 21-22 season. And for an established veteran, for a guy who is in his age 28 season, this is a player who has had a good amount of mileage in the AHL. This is someone who is going to be entering his 7th season playing in the AHL. And look, at this point, he is a consistent, reliable defenseman. He is going to play in a decent amount of games this year. He is going to get, a few goals. He's going to pick up a few assists. He's going to be a defenseman that you're going to have on your second defensive pairing, third defensive pairing. But what I like about him and what his skill set really shows up is the fact that this is a guy who is not only a former champion. He won the Kelly Cup with the Florida Everblades in 22-23 when he was splitting time with the Henderson Silver Knights that year. But is also a similar player that in terms of his skill set, he is not someone who is going to be over flashy, but this is a player who is going to be able to facilitate the puck. He knows his role. He's a veteran guy, like I said, this 7-year veteran in the AHL. And, he's been, on the Buffalo Sabres AHL team. He's been on, Carolina's AHL team, Nashville's AHL team, Vancouver, Vegas. This is, like I said, year 4, him being in the AHL for Vegas. And he's a constant. He's a consistent player. And what you're looking for the Henderson Silver Knights is what he is going to bring. A guy who can play and be on a defensive pairing with a young defenseman. Now, regardless of who the young defensemen are going to be, there is an assortment of young defensemen the Henderson Silver Knights are going to have on this team. There are going to be some defensemen that are going to be standouts on the defensive end. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a young 21-year-old defenseman that is going to be on this list in just a little bit. There's going to be a prospect like Lucas Cormier, who was a top prospect for the Vegas Golden Knights this past season. He dipped a little bit in our prospect watch. He's no longer the number 1 guy. But, Lucas Cormier, he's a young defenseman. So it's really interesting to see what happens here. I mean, even guys who are not in the AHL yet, a guy like Joe Fleming, who's in the ECHL. He is a young 20-year-old defenseman who has a lot of upside and will be playing in Tahoe to start out the year. So, going to be really curious to see how this does. But looking at what we have seen from Brandon Hickey, this is going to be a defenseman that they're going to count on throughout the year. And I have no doubt that he is going to be one of these defensemen that they're going to count on throughout the entire year. And he will be on the roster with these young guys, being a wing kind of being a guy that they can use as a veteran presence in the AHL. So at number 10, we have Brandon Hickey, defenseman. He is going to be a really good player for the Vegas Golden Knights AHL team, the Henderson Silver Knights. So we're starting out with him at number 10 when it comes to our list of the top 10 AHL players for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, moving over to number 9 on this list, and this is a player who is not only a confirmed member of the AHL and will be with the Henderson Silver Knights, Vegas Golden Knights. You know what? Henderson Golden Knights, sure. Vegas Silver Knights, Henderson Golden Knights. But when it comes to the Henderson Silver Knights organization, Carl Lindbaum, this is a young, up-and-coming goaltender inside the organization. 21 years old. He has been in Sweden the past couple of years. And based off of what we saw statistically in Sweden, if he has anywhere near those numbers in the AHL, he has a bright, and I mean bright, future ahead of him in the AHL. Now, Carl Lindbaum, this is a 7th-round pick the Vegas Golden Knights had in 2021. And based off of what we've seen from the Vegas Golden Knights goaltenders in the AHL, we have seen in the past on videos we have done on players like Isaiah Seville. He, did very well. We also had, for example, Akira Schmid. He'll be in the AHL, but also be in the NHL, hence why the rules don't apply for that. But more importantly, when it comes to the AHL goaltenders we have seen in the past, we had, Yori Patera. We had, for example, Logan Thompson. He was in the AHL. He panned out really well for Vegas. And overall, I like what we're seeing potential-wise from Carl Lindbaum. And what I'm going to say is that if they give him 15, 20 games to play as a backup in the AHL, which based off of what I've seen, based off of the starting roster that we have in front of us, he is most likely going to be that backup goaltender in the Henderson Silver Knights organization. So if he plays about 15, 20 games for Henderson, and then he has the other 2 goaltenders, they'll share the rest of the games out there in Henderson. But he has so much upside, and I like his blocker side, the way that he shifts his body around, the way he makes saves, based off the highlight films that we saw out there in Sweden. And anybody who got to see the World Junior Tournament in this past year, he was the starting goaltender for Team Sweden. In fact, he played 7 games in net for Sweden in the World Junior. So that was really a good sample size to see what Carl Lindbaum can do. But yeah, at number 9, Carl Lindbaum, I really like what we're going to see from him. And I really think that with the Henderson Silver Knights, you're going to see a young 21-year-old goaltender with so much potential that is eventually going to possibly get to the NHL in 2 or 3 years' time. But I like what we've seen from him. I liked what I saw from the World Juniors. And I'm telling everyone watching around the world at number 9 for the top AHL players for the Vegas Golden Knights, goaltender Carl Lindbaum. And that is here for our top 10 list, where we're talking about the AHL players for your Vegas Golden Knights. Moving over to number 8 on our list, and this is actually going to be a new member of the Henderson Silver Knights. This is going to be somebody that we have not seen in the Vegas Golden Knights organization, and that is Riley McKay. And, for a forward, 25 years old, he has been in the AHL for the past 4 seasons. This will be his 5th season playing in the AHL, first with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. Now, the past 2 seasons, he had been with the Montreal Canadiens and their AHL team out there in Laval, and out there with the Laval Rocket. And when it comes to the 2 years previously, he had been in the AHL with the Rockford Ice Hogs, which is the Chicago Blackhawks organization. So after 2 seasons playing in the Chicago Blackhawks organization, after 2 years in the Montreal Canadiens organization, he is now entering his 1st season being with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. But what I like about McKay is not the fact that, he can score the occasional goal here and there. It's not the fact that he's going to be a bottom six forward, someone who is going to bring some good depth to the Henderson Silver Knights organization, but I like his main attribute, and his main attribute is penalty minutes. Riley McKay had just around 150 penalty minutes last year with the Laval Rockets. And then the year before, he had around 120 penalty minutes. So really, that's not bad at all. Around 280 penalty minutes in the past 3 seasons he has been in the AHL. And even if you look at his ECHL numbers in 21-22, when he played pretty much a big season with the Indy Fuel, who were with the Chicago Blackhawks affiliate, he had 192 penalty minutes. Wow, what an insane number by Riley McKay. And he's going to bring some much-needed physicality to the Henderson Silver Knights. He's going to bring some aggression, some toughness into the bottom six out there in Henderson. And when I look at a guy like Riley McKay, this is going to be a much-needed addition to the Henderson Silver Knights organization. And I really like what we're going to see from him. You know, he is not going to be a guy that's most likely going to get called up to the NHL. He is a minor league signing at 25 years old. He's going to be in the AHL all year with the Henderson Silver Knights, and he is going to get into fights. He is going to get into scrums. He's going to stand up for teammates because that is his job. That's what he does best in the AHL. So I say that Riley McKay, he is going to be a much-needed addition to the Henderson Silver Knights, and I like to see what he's going to do in Henderson. But at number 8 for the top AHL players for Vegas, that is going to be there. And we're going to continue with this, talking about the top 10 players in the AHL for the Vegas Golden Knights. Getting into number 7 here on this list of the top AHL players for the Vegas Golden Knights, and Jacob Brebenich. And this is a young, skillful player for the Henderson Silver Knights. This is a guy who is, around 20, 21 years old for the Silver Knights organization. And this will be his second season playing in the Silver Knights organization. He actually played in 48 games in his first season playing for the Henderson Silver Knights, put up half a dozen goals, around a dozen points in that campaign. Solid middle six forward for the Silver Knights organization. And what I like about him is that he was a 4th-round pick by Vegas in 2021. And what I can appreciate about Brebenich is that this is a guy that is building up his confidence, and you can see it in his performance. You can see with what line mates he has that he is really building up that self-confidence out there in the AHL. So I really like what we have seen from Jacob Brebenich. And this is a guy that, as he is continuing to get older and the more seasons and the more games he plays in the AHL, I expect his goals to go up this year. I expect his points to go up this year. And for a guy entering his second year, and like I said, he is at 20 years old with the AHL out there in Henderson. And I really like what we have seen from Jacob Brebenich. So this is a guy at number 7 that, like I said, has a lot of upside out there in Henderson, and I really am looking forward to seeing what he can do. And to everyone watching all around the world, when it comes to our prospect list, I understand that we're going to be putting that out there, and there's all the names that are going to be on that prospect watch and doing our prospect ranking system and everything going on there. He is a talent that's got some upside here in the AHL. And I'm seeing that he's going to continue to progress with your Silver Knights organization. So as we are talking about the top AHL players for the Vegas Golden Knights, since we're a little bit into it, let's go over the top 10 real quick. Number 10, defenseman Brandon Hickey. This is an established veteran entering year 5 of his tenure with the Henderson Silver Knights. A good veteran defenseman to have with all the young guys on the roster. At number 9, a young up-and-coming goaltender in Carl Lindbaum. First season playing in Henderson. So much upside from this guy. At number 8, a brand new face to the Silver Knights. a guy who was with the Montreal Canadiens team this past season, now with the Vegas Golden Knights, and that's Riley McKay. This is a fighter. This is someone who is going to bring some toughness and physicality to the Henderson Silver Knights. And then at number 7, we have Jacob Brebenich. And Jacob Brebenich, this is going to be a young, skillful forward for the Henderson Silver Knights. So I really like what we're going to see from him. So we're going to continue this list, and we're going to go down the rest of the names on here, and we're going to talk about all of that here on Vegas Hockey Hub. Now, for this next player that is going to be with the Henderson Silver Knights this season, talking about the AHL with the Vegas Golden Knights, and this is a guy who is entering his first year with the Golden Knights organization, but a longtime veteran of the AHL, and I'm talking about Mitch McLean. I mean, this is a guy entering year 8 of him being in the AHL. He started out with the Iowa Wild, who are the affiliate of the Minnesota Wild. He was there for a couple of years. Then he spent a year being with the Nashville Predators organization in Milwaukee, and then spent the past 2 seasons in Calgary, but with the Wranglers, who are the affiliate of the Calgary Flames. So with him coming over to the Henderson Silver Knights, here's what you're going to expect from Mitch McLean. 2 things. 1, he's going to get you about 12 goals on the year, okay? This is a player who you are going to see be an established veteran who you can count upon to make good decisions on that middle 6, being a center, being a guy who can get good quality minutes for your organization. So that's the first part. And then second is the penalty minutes, kind of similar to Riley McKay earlier in the episode. Mitch McLean has had over 100 penalty minutes the past 3 seasons, and he has also been in the Calder Cup playoffs the past 3 seasons, 2 years at Calgary, 1 year at Milwaukee. They were in the playoffs the past 3 seasons. So he brings in not just the amount of points and the amount of games he's played in the AHL, but for the 30-year-old, he also brings in playoff experience in the Calder Cup. So with him coming over from Calgary, him being with the Vegas Golden Knights organization this year at number 6, Mitch McLean, this is going to be a really good guy to have in Henderson, and I really want to see if he'll keep up the statistics he had in Calgary at being a guy who scored over 12 goals. He would have around 20 points on the year and would rack up over 100 penalty minutes. We'll see how he does in Henderson, but that's who I have at number 6, Mitch McLean. And then at number 5, this is somebody that started out with Calgary, but he has actually earned his place in the Henderson Silver Knights organization. This is a player who over the past 2 seasons has really established himself as a member of the Henderson Silver Knights. And I am talking about a defenseman and Christopher Sedidov. And this is a guy who, he was in the WHL. He was an undrafted free agent. He goes over to Calgary. He is with them for their development camp, their rookie camp. They do not bring him back into Calgary. And this past season, he spent considerable amount of time in the AHL with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. And when it comes to Sedidov, this is a defenseman that has a lot of upside for the Vegas Golden Knights. And for a 22-year-old, he has a lot of opportunity to get better with the Henderson Silver Knights. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he performs in his second season being with the Golden Knights organization, playing in the AHL with Henderson. Now, the main 4, you have a goaltender, and you have a pair of defensemen, and then 1 forward is going to be in your top 4. We're going to cover all of that, talking about the top AHL players for your Vegas Golden Knights here on Vegas Hockey Hub. When it comes to the goaltending of the Henderson Silver Knights, obviously I excluded goaltender Akira Schmid because there is a chance that he will be on a 2-way contract. He'll be playing for the Vegas Golden Knights, Henderson Silver Knights. NHL caliber goaltender. He played for the New Jersey Devils, so I'm not going to put him on this list. And I already talked about Carl Lindbaum. He was number 9 earlier in this episode. However, there is a young goaltender that the Henderson Silver Knights do have in their organization. He actually played around 20 games last year in Henderson. And of course, I am talking about the 22-year-old Jesper Beckman from Sweden. So Lindbaum, he's from Sweden. Beckman, he is from Sweden. And this will be his 3rd season being with the Henderson Silver Knights organization. He had a single game that he played in with the Henderson Silver Knights in the end of 2022. And then he had about 19 games that he started in 2023. Now, yes, he did split between the Henderson Silver Knights and the Savannah Ghost Pirates the past year, ECHL and AHL. But considering the experience that he has now, I will be very shocked if he does not share backup goaltender minutes with Carl Lindbaum in the AHL. And, if he makes the occasional start in the ECHL, that would be expected, kind of similar to Isaiah Seville and his situation in previous years. But Jesper Beckman really has taken off. I think that he has really found his lane, and he is getting that experience that is needed at the goaltender position. So at number 4, Jesper Beckman for the Henderson Silver Knights organization, talking about the top 10 AHL players for your Vegas Golden Knights. And if we're going to talk about the Silver Knights, we have to talk about your captain. You have to talk about a guy who has been a day one member of the Vegas Golden Knights organization, taken in the 2017 NHL expansion draft from the New York Islanders. Your captain, Jake Bischoff, has been with the Silver Knights from the very beginning. And in terms of consistency, he is going to play every single game. He is going to be on the ice at all times. And I kind of like how this is really interesting for me, that this is a guy in Jake Bischoff who is going to be entering his 8th season in the AHL. So for a guy like Jake Bischoff, consistent, durable, and your captain of the Henderson Silver Knights. So that is at the number 3 spot. I had to put the captain of the Silver Knights on there. And you know what? He's durable. He's dependable and reliable for the Henderson Silver Knights. So Jake Bischoff, good defenseman at number 3. So that gets to our final 2. Our top 2 people with the Henderson Silver Knights in the AHL. And these are 2 guys that are definitely credible and are going to be the mainstays of the Henderson Silver Knights in this season. And we're going to talk about all of that here on Vegas Hockey Hub. At number 2 for the Henderson Silver Knights, and this is a guy who has been with the Silver Knights for 1.5 years. We'll be getting into his 3rd season within the Golden Knights organization, and that is Dyson Mayo. This defenseman, young quality guy, someone who was brought in the Shea Weber trade, and he has been a good member of the Henderson Silver Knights, had a breakout season in this past year. He had 5 goals, 25 points, and around 80 penalty minutes on the year. And he played majority of the season with the Henderson Silver Knights. So for a guy that has NHL experience, he played with the Arizona Coyotes for X amount of years. So when it comes to Dyson Mayo at number 2, a full-time member of the Henderson Silver Knights and a quality defenseman that the Henderson Silver Knights are going to use this year. I have no doubt that he is going to be on that second defensive pairing, probably alongside Jake Bischoff, who I mentioned is on this list. But at number 1 and the number 1 AHL player, I'm going to go with the Las Vegas-born Gage Quinney. Now, Gage Quinney, this past season, he is someone who does not score as many goals as he has in the past, but the Vegas Golden Knights have had Gage Quinney in their organization for 7 seasons, and he is the most reliable guy they have in this roster. So counting this down once again for the top 10 AHL players for your Vegas Golden Knights, starting over from the top. At number 10, defenseman Brandon Hickey. At number 9, goaltender Carl Lindbaum. Number 8, forward Riley McKay. At number 7, Jacob Brabernick. At number 6, Mitch McLean. At number 5, Christopher Sedidov. At number 4, Jesper Beckman. At number 3, Jake Bischoff. At number 2, Dyson Mayo. And at number 1, Gage Quinney. So this was this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub. I hope you enjoyed the content. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you can. And if you want to like our Facebook page, that would be great as well. Thanks to everybody on PR Connections Radio for helping out. And until next time, go Knights.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.